The graph shows how the rate of photosynthesis of a plant changes with light intensity at 3 different carbon dioxide concentrations. In each case, the temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. So the temperature is the same in 3 different carbon dioxide concentrations or 3 samples. What is the limiting factor for the rate of photosynthesis at point X on the graph? So at this point, it says it's asking the limiting factor, okay? It's asking for the limiting factor. Limiting factors for the photosynthesis is, of course, there are 3 things: temperature, light intensity, and substrate concentration. Or actually, in this case, it must be CO2. CO2 concentration. For photosynthesis, CO2 is a substrate. So, okay, so it's showing that the temperature is remain the same. So you can't say the limiting factor is the temperature because it's not changing at all at this time. So the limiting factors are factors that can affect the life process in such a way that if there's no limiting factor, then it can actually stop the living process, such as photosynthesis. So as you can see here, as the light intensity becomes increased, the rate of photosynthesis also increases. But which means if the light intensity becomes decreased, the rate of photosynthesis also becomes decreased. So to some extent, to this point, the light intensity is indeed the limiting factor. For the second graph, until this period of time or until this light intensity range, not the time actually, my bad. So for this range, the rate of photosynthesis gets affected by the light intensity. So limiting factor is indeed, in this case, the light intensity. I mean, until this position. So the light intensity in this range is the limiting factor for the second graph. For the third graph, the top one, this one, the light intensity is the limiting factor in this light intensity range, because as the light intensity gets increased, the rate of photosynthesis also increases. So light intensity is affecting the rate of photosynthesis here, okay? But after that, the light intensity is no longer a limiting factor because it's not affecting at all. For the first graph, of course, the light intensity from this point to here, the light intensity is no longer the rate of no longer the limiting factor because it's not affecting at all. As it gets increased, there's no change. As it gets decreased, there's no change. So light intensity is affecting the rate of photosynthesis only in this part. So yes, light intensity is the limiting factor for this part, but no for the others. No for the rest. Okay. Anyway, back to the question again. So the temperature is remained the same, so we can't be sure whether that's the limiting factor at X. But we're sure that the light intensity is no longer limiting factor at X because it got increased, but the rate of photosynthesis is not increasing at all. So light intensity is not the limiting factor, temperature is not, surface area, you can't find it in 3 factors, right? You can't find the surface area of the plant in 3 limiting factors. So C is not the right answer. That leaves us with A. Okay? A is the right answer.